How's that for an intro, huh? This is Miss Becky here, pre-calculus student. So I'm going to be hopefully walking you through how to do section M.6 on IXL. And bear with me because I'm not techno-friendly, as you all probably know. Anywho's, so what this section here is talking about, again, these are the notes for, oh, come on, see, already? Oh, wait, let's get rid of that. D. Wait, I can do this. 6. Oh, gosh. All right. Anyway, so what this is talking about, what we're going to be doing here is the new way of thinking is rather than an XY coordinate, what you guys have done forever, rather than that, we're going to be thinking of that as cosine and sine. So it's not that difficult. And I've written the ratios out to the side here as a reference because I always need a reference, and maybe you guys will too. So IXL is going to bring up a problem that looks like this, and it's going to ask you for the cosine of theta. And so it's giving you two coordinates, which are really cosine. This one is the cosine because it's in the x position, and this one is sine, the y position. And might be a little cheesy, but the way I remember that sine goes with y because why would you sin? Okay. So when they're asking the cosine of theta here, it's pretty easy peasy. It's just 7/25. Alrighty. Next one here is secant. So secant, we see, is the reciprocal from the cosine. So this is the cosine coordinate right there. So all you need to do is flip it. So it's going to be 13/12. All right, here is the sine. That one's not too bad, 39/89. Now this one here, tangent, gets a little trickier because for tangent, it's going to be really y over x, and that's the same thing as sine over cosine. So it can get a little bit nasty because we have fractions and whatnot. So because technically what we're dealing with here are ratios. So the sine of this one, my pen is acting like it doesn't want to work. Come on, work pen. Is 55/73. That's just the sine or the y portion. So this is going to be a complex fraction because on the bottom or the denominator, we're going to have the cosine, which is 48/73. Now, technically, the way that you need to work this out, think it's this fraction divided by this fraction. So in other words, it's, if you were to work it out, it'd be 55/73 times the reciprocal, because if you're going to divide fractions, we don't divide them, we multiply them by the reciprocal. So it's going to be 73/48. Then what ends up happening there is this 73 cancels out this 73. And what we're left with is 55/48. 48. Come on, pen. 48. Yeah. So the answer to this one is, it's 55/48. Now, if you notice, that's these two numbers right there. So, well, I'll show you how to do that on this one. Let me erase this here. Erase. Okay. Told you I'm not good with this. Where'd my pen go? All right, so on this here tangent, there's a little shortcut. Since these denominators end up canceling out because they're the same, if you look over here, this one is the same as this one, so the shortcut is just, we're asking for the tangent, so it's going to be sine over cosine or y over x, so it's just going to be over 13. And that's all you have to do with that. Now the cotangent is going to be the same way. So these denominators still cancel out. And that little trick only works if they're the same. If they're not the same, why does my pen keep messing up? If they're not the same, you have to end up, doing the math. But so the tangent, the cotangent is actually the reciprocal of tangent. So if tangent, oh goodness, is y over x, what's wrong with this thing? Y over x. Then the cotangent is going to be x over y. So the denominators have canceled out, so it's going to be 16 over 63. Okay, moving right along. All right, well, since you guys are probably getting this already, why don't you pause the video and then you guys try these next ones on your own and see if you get them right. And don't be afraid of struggling. And then you can unpause the video and then see how I did it. Okay? Pause the video now. I'm watching you. All right. So for number 7, it's asking for the cotangent. The cotangent is going to be, this is x, this is y. Remember, tangent is y over x. So cotangent is going to be x over y. Good news here is that these cancel out. And so we have 7 over 24. Now, one thing is that you got to be careful of, if you end up with a fraction that can be reduced, you want to go ahead and reduce that. Next one, sine. Sine is the y coordinate. That one's not so bad. It's negative 35 over 37. Number 9, the sine of this one is the y coordinate, so it's a square root of 31 over 7. Now this one, the tangent, okay, we have this going for us here. We can cancel those out. Tangent is going to be y coordinate, which is negative 67 over negative square root of 14. Square root of 67. All right, so the problem with this is that this is a radical in the denominator, and we never want to have radicals in the basement. Trust me, I've had a few in mine. It doesn't work out. So we're going to multiply this denominator by the square root of 14, and what you do on the bottom, you've got to do on the top. So when you multiply a square root by a square root, it becomes that number. This one, when you multiply that out, it turns into the square root of 938. Now you're supposed to always look at these radicals and see if they can be broken down. So you're looking for perfect squares that you can pull out of those, if you remember how we did that. And another thing is that this negative and this negative turned this fraction into positive. And that's pretty much all you're going to see on IXL in this section. And that's about it. And here is my outro. Pretty cool, huh? And always remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Oh, this bad. It's over now. Cut. Finish. The end.